The Milford High School Building Committee meeting will come to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to read the meeting of January 14th? They were circulated, they're posted. Motion Al, second by Mike Walsh. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, that's done. Second item is the approval of warrants. There's a $20,000 warrant for the owner's project manager, and there's a timesheet and 2 meetings for Melissa Bullock for $307.40 each. I'll take them together. If we want the motion from Craig, second from Josh Otland. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. So I'll send those around for signatures. And the next item is the selected designer introduction. And what's happened since we last met is we actually went through the process with MSBA, and there was a selected designer, which is HMFH. And I will turn this over to James Reefstall, our owner's project manager, to make the introduction.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, we've had a couple of busy weeks with, I want to just give a special thank you to our designer selection panel subcommittee, Mike Walsh, Chris Wilson, Craig Consigli got it to this point. If you recall, they were a subsection of a larger designer selection panel that was choosing who would be the next architect for Milford. And it was with these 3 gentlemen guiding, effectively providing input and insight so that the other 12 could know, more about Milford and who might be a best fit for Milford. And so again, thank you guys for your input and for your efforts through that effort. If you recall, there were 5 that submitted, and we narrowed that list down to 2. And we had 2. We were in a very luxurious spot of having 2 very qualified architects. Had we had either one, we would have been good. But and so in the end, HMFH was selected, and for those who weren't aware, they were the architect of Woodland Elementary School 10 years ago. They have the capacity right now. They work exclusively on schools, and so they had a 30-minute interview to present, and so they providing now for us a compressed version of that. We have a meeting behind us here today, but I guess, without further ado, I will introduce you to Bobby Williams, principal in charge, and Stephanie McNeil, project manager.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. It's nice to be back in this chair. It's been a while, but it's kind of fun and interesting. So this is the presentation we gave, but we condensed it. We know we're going to spend probably 10 minutes, maybe 15, taking you through some slides just so you can see what was presented to everybody and just kind of talk through it. Clicker. Sure. So this is just a bunch of pictures of HMFH. We are a 46-person firm. We've been around for 56 years. And again, as James said, we focus specifically on educational design throughout that 56 years. This is the team. I'm the principal in charge. Stephanie's what we call the external project manager, meaning she'll be the client-facing person and be here with me for all these presentations. Arthur and Stephanie worked together for many years. Arthur's more of an internal project manager where he's really into the deep dive of the drawings and really kind of managing the internal team. Stephanie will be part of that as well, but that's Arthur's specialty. Matt LaRue, he was the project architect and project manager, actually, of the Woodland Elementary project. He's a principal at HMFH as well and will be the design advisor, kind of checking in with us throughout the project. And then Mike and Roger were also brought to the interview. Mike is the educational planner, and Roger is our CTE expert. So he's going to help onboard those 9 programs that you guys have. Some stats of things that HMFH has accomplished over the years, focusing specifically on schools: 13 grade reconfigurations, 7 comprehensive high schools, 19 schools with vocational programs, and 51 schools with occupied sites. So those were kind of hitting some of the key metrics of this project. And then we wanted to just focus that we have been designing vocational spaces for 46 years. The shot right in the middle is actually Martha's Vineyard's vocational high school. way back in the day, one of our first ones. We always have a focus of bringing long-term value to all of our projects. This is kind of how we frame the presentation with these 5 bullets that we are going to walk you through. First was just our experience transitioning schools from high school to a comprehensive high school. It really starts with the visioning, building consensus process throughout the project. We understand values long-term proposition, and we have an onboarding program for the facilities manager as a way to kind of make sure that our buildings are running as designed when we turn them over to you, and then you have somebody knowing how to operate it. So we worked really hard to find ways to do that. We are definitely experts in phase construction, most recently completing Arlington High School, which Stephanie will take you through. We also did the Cambridge Ridge and Latin School, which was a 100% renovation project that we just went soup to nuts, 400,000 square feet. Both Stephanie and Arthur did both of those projects together in the same capacity. So that's why we have such a good team for this project. And then it all culminates with kind of a design that reflects Milford, and really we're here to design a building for you, not for us. So we're going to take your input throughout the process and help turn that into a vision. Just some going through what it takes to design a comprehensive high school. We essentially came up with 5 principles from past projects. This is Dover Comprehensive High School in New Hampshire, which it was a 300,000 square foot school, and it took a regular high school and their career tech, which had 18 programs, combined them. And it really starts with right sizing. We want to make sure we give you guys the right size project, knowing how the cost per square foot of building these days. Every square foot counts, so we can do that with Roger, our CT expert, walking through how you schedule the project. There's different schedules you can do based on if you do a schedule that requires the Chapter 74 space to have 2 classes in it at one time, you can almost double the size of requirement of that space. So it's really important to walk through this process and really hone in on how you're going to use the building so we can get the right size of each project.
If you want to go back a slide, quick interruption. Okay, CTE, all the lingo, guys.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
CTE, Career Technical Education.
yes.
And Chapter 74 is the Massachusetts General Law chapter that guides public education, vocational education. So there you go.
Since you brought it up, I'm going to renew my request.
Yes.
By the next meeting, please have a glossary.
I was going to say,
card,
It is
It's in the
started
works.
on my desktop
Yes.
right now.
or 5x3 card.
I brought that back,
Everybody
that
has
idea
their little
back.
notes as we go through this.
I did, yeah.
By the next meeting.
yes, and the idea is that it'll probably build throughout the process. We'll try with the basics, and every time we hit one, we're like, oh, add that to the list.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Yeah.
Unified educational experience. So what we were talking about here is, again, our experience in Dover. When we went through the community vision session, it was really important that when they brought the 2 schools together, it felt like one school. It didn't feel like kids were going to the CTE and kids were going to the high school. And that some of the takeaways that we learned was we actually completely integrated the CTE classrooms and programs. So basically, you walk down the hall, you go into your CTE class. You walk a little further, you go into an academic class. And then we created these kind of small learning commons that they could have cross-curricular time for students during planning periods to work on. In addition, these are large schools, so we tried to build small learning communities within the community. At Arlington, we did like a STEAM wing. It's just really a good way to kind of break down the size and scale of these schools. Which leads us to sense of pride and community within the school. HMFH has had a lot of success, especially in comprehensive high schools, kind of branding the different programs to highlight them with either graphics that are pretty easy to make, they're very cost effective, or finding ways to put display cases so that you can showcase the programs, whether it's also in the athletics, being able to kind of, celebrate the pride of the school, like the Red Hawks in this case. This was Winthrop High School. So they were the Vikings, so we really spent time. But this, again, helps students to identify. It also helps students pique curiosity that maybe they didn't know about a CTE shop, and suddenly they're walking by like, what is that? So we want to make it so students see what everyone's doing so that they have the opportunity to identify different programs, but also to be part of it. These programs are changing daily, right? You know, like with AI, everything's happening. So we want to make sure we build flexible infrastructure. So if you do decide in a couple of years that one of your programs is no longer the program that's satisfying the needs of the school, or, you know, preparing kids for a job anymore in the future, that you have the ability to switch that out with something else. So we spend time really focusing on just flexible infrastructure in classrooms, electrical outlets, drains, just anything that will make this space easily adaptable, so you're not spending lots of money on renovations for these kind of spaces. And then it always culminates with safety and security in all these spaces. We start with the macro of the school and how are we going to zone it. With the comprehensive high school, there's, you know, do you isolate some of the comprehensive spaces? Do you isolate? We know that you have a community entrance for your pool and your gym now, so we want to make sure that we have a way to isolate that so the public can use the space. So there'll just be lots of high-level understanding of how we're going to isolate the different parts of the school for that piece. And then we're going to dive really into the details on each year, Chapter 74 spaces. This is just an example of the detail that we put into every plan that just gives every single safety requirement that's in that space. And we give these to DESE. They use those to approve the programs. And then that also is for your teachers for going forward. And I'll turn to Stephanie to talk about the rest.
So back out to big picture, you know, we know we've got a big community process ahead of us, and that we want to meet with everyone in town through various methods, so we ensure we're getting buy-in from everyone. And so that might mean that we're going to do public forums. It might mean going out to town day, bringing physical models out. We find that's a great way to engage folks and get them to get excited about the project and be able to visualize it. So we're happy to, you know, hear input from you all about what the best means to kind of get the message out to the town will be. And then one of the, you know, first steps we're going to be taking is to work with you all to develop a matrix so that we can identify goals and have this quantifiable approach, so that when we're going through options and evaluating things, it can be through a method that you're, you know, giving a number to and ranking, so that everything is transparent and clear to the community why particular options are rising to the top and why others are not. This is an example from our work with Needham. They had, you know, matrix of values that they developed and ranked their options for, so we see a similar process that will happen here. And we know from, you know, reading through the SOI and talking with you all so far that those top values are going to come from the educational goals, the facility goals, community goals, operational, and so that, you know, we've got a couple sample bullets here, but those are going to be the big headings that we'll work with you all to develop those criteria that we'll be ranking the options against.
And I'll just clarify, we say options because with 3 enrollment options, we're always going to study an ad reno, a new construction, and probably a major ad reno almost for each of those enrollment options. So that's why she says options, because there'll be multiple options to look at. Sorry.
No, it's
Yeah.
good. And then, you know, to quantify, you know, what we're saying we're bringing to the table with long-term value is that, you know, HMFH has a long history of educational design, so we have a constant feedback loop in the office where, you know, we've built a building, tried out those details, what worked, what didn't, and that constant feedback is make sure that our projects are better and better each time we go out to bid. And it also ensures that we have a very clear, concise, biddable set of documents that helps to keep that cost down. Another piece to making sure that building is built to last for you is that you can operate it when we've turned the keys over to you. So I think I was talking with some folks earlier about our work with IDS, who's kind of a third-party commissioning agent that is there with you more for that 1-year warranty period. And we've worked with them on recent projects, Arlington High School being one of them, where they're able to have a kind of facilities training program where they're working both in terms of let's make this building run correctly during the 1-year warranty period. Let's also show the facilities personnel what the BMS system is doing so that they have an understanding of how it's operating at the same time. So it's a really, you know, 2 birds with 1 stone, get the building working, also be onboarding and training your personnel as well. And then on top of that, you want your building running, you want your teachers to be able to utilize the facility and know what do all my light switches do? Do I need to know anything about my shades? All the little stuff that, we want to make sure gets communicated. So we will put together a user guide that is a document that can be, we'll walk through at a professional development meeting with your staff, and then it's a document that can live with you to then, as new staff comes on 5-10 years down the road, it's something that they can refer to. And Mike and Roger, who are, met Mike today for Envisioning, and then Roger for CTE, they will be with us through this entire contract period so that when the building opens up, they can also help to ensure that the things that were discussed with all of the planning and envisioning, that is actually coming to fruition and the spaces are being used as was intended. Because, at the end of the day, this is all coming down to, we want the town of Milford to have a fantastic new asset where it doesn't matter whether you've got a 2-year-old at home or kids that graduated 30 years ago. Everyone's excited about this project because they're going to use the new facility. And I'll click next. So I'll click through Arlington a little bit quickly. This is the existing building. It's a little fuzzy here, but we know that there's a lot of logistics and complex pieces of the puzzle that we need to start layering onto the new Milford High School so that we're analyzing everything appropriately. So just to focus in on the phasing piece of Arlington High School, which is what these next few slides will walk through, one thing we know is high priority is keeping the students safe throughout the entire construction process. So what we sat down with our CM at the beginning of each phase to map out where was going to be their appropriate laydown, where were they getting their access, where would the students and faculty then have their access, so that everyone had space, had access points to make sure things ran smoothly, which is very important when you're working 10 feet away from an existing building. So you can see here that was, click back for me.
It's going the wrong way there.
Back. There we go. That's phase 1. We built in front of the school. Phase 2 was then essentially sandwiched. So now you're looking at Mass Ave. The front of the building is up to the top left corner. Our phase 2 was then sandwiched in between what we had built new in phase 1 to the upper left, and then the existing building is still scooping around what we're building new. And one of the important pieces that led the development of the new Arlington High School in the footprint it's in was to ensure that all of the high school's programs were up and running at every phase. So there was never a phase in which they didn't have some sort of a gym space, they didn't have some sort of a performing space, they didn't have some sort of music space. It did mean we had to do creative things like taking one of their gym spaces, and that became a temporary cafeteria for this phase 2. So there were temporary measures that had to be implemented, but we made sure everything was up and running every phase. This is our final phase where we have their gymnasium space finally being built, and that's the gym space to the rear that's then got torn down. And the final product, you would not know that is now. That it was built that way because, there was an existing building there. It was very strategic to still say, we are still going to build Arlington the correct solution for what their future high school needs are. We're not going to let the existing high school stand in our way of doing that. So we made both pieces of that puzzle work. This was talking through just that, so all of those pieces from Arlington High School we'll be bringing and layering into the Milford High School project. And then as the ending of the interview, we did walk through one solution, which I'll walk through, but I want to preface and say, this is very much not what we have decided is the final solution. We have a lot of work ahead of us to determine what the right solution, but in the name of having some pretty pictures to end on, this is one consideration. So you could look at building a pre-K and district office wing that gives you a little bit of swing space early on. That could potentially be an early bid package, so that's happening before we've finalized the rest of the building project and help condense that schedule. Then building in all new wings off of the existing gymnasium and pool, so now that can be all one substantial package in and of itself of new construction work. Then looking at demolishing the existing auditorium, being able to create a new auditorium that would have a new main entrance to it and really have a nice entrance of a central hub into this full new facility. And then demolishing the remainder of the existing building. And what's nice about the compact footprint here is that it's giving a lot more space to the front side of the site where you could have potential for more fields, parking area, and creating good flow on the site. Oh, that's clicker sticking. Okay. And then this is kind of just sampling through what are these key spaces in here. It's creating a new community hub for the school. So that was speaking to the new community entrance. Potential also could be that you have a community entrance and a separate main entrance to the school. These are examples. So the two upper photos are the Arlington High School's preschool, which is the first 2 floors of that 3-story volume, and then the 3rd story is their district administration space. So within that cube there, you see on the left-hand photo that has the tree, that's the preschool's dedicated entrance, and then the district admin has another entrance that's more facing towards the high school building, so that they're able to occupy that zone but have very distinct and separate entrances. CTE work yards is definitely something we'll be evaluating for Milford. Separate entrances, and then also looking at, opportunities for renovating your existing pool, gymnasium. Those 2 photos are from the Cambridge Engine Latin facility, which were also both an existing pool and an existing gym space that were renovated. So still the existing bones there, but still look like brand new spaces inside. And a lovely new rendering of a future Milford High School.
Yep, so again, we just want to thank you for hiring us. We're really excited to be part of this project and really work with you to create a new vision for the high school. We're happy to take any questions.
Questions? That's what they're here for, to answer questions. Wow.
I've already asked my question.
Yeah.
Then,
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Could you review the consultants that you're bringing on board?
Sure.
Like your, I guess, additional team, like MEP and...
Yeah, so our MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, are Bala Engineering, and they did both Cambridge Engine Latin and Arlington High School with us. We have ACAL for fire protection. Sam Yotis is civil. Foley and Buell Roberts is structural. I think they did your preschool on your high school. They did that, and they also were with us on Woodland.
McPhail.
McPhail is our geotech. Peter Bradley is our cost estimator, which is Peter Bradley. It's PM&C is our cost estimator. Crabtree McGrath is the kitchen consultant.
UEC.
Mabit is a veteran-owned business, and they're doing wetlands flagging and environmental phase 1 report for us. UEC is for Universal Environmental is hazmat. I think that's, yeah. I think that rounds out most of them.
Okay.
Could probably keep going.
There's still more?
Yeah.
So many, I know.
Yeah, it gets
List out.
every project you even seem to like add a new one.
I'm impressed.
Oh, hardware is,
ArcSpec.
yeah, ArcSpec is hardware,
That
yeah.
was a test.
Do you have a sustainability consultant?
Yes, and then certain sustainability. So they'll come on once we get into design development, and because for state funding, the project will need to pursue LEED certification. So we'll be working on it.
Perfect. Thank
They
you.
worked with me on Arlington High School as well.
No, they're great. Thank you.
Anyone else?
So
No one else? So the next item on the agenda is the designer contract. And I found out after our last meeting that traditionally, the contract is negotiated by the owner's project manager. And then I put my Town of Milford hat on and said, there is no way that's going to happen in the Town of Milford without Milford people involved. So I immediately spun up a subcommittee of the 3 individuals I've mentioned before that actually were part of the selection process. And I added to that myself, Rick Villani, the Chief Procurement Officer, and Joe Calagione, all members from this committee. And Joe is a professional engineer with a lot of expertise in this contract thing. So this actually grew very organically. And it started to make sense as a result of our meeting last week to maintain this subcommittee as a quick, nimble body that can get information to them quickly. So before I get into the contract thing, I did add one member, which was Josh Otland. That gets us to 7 members. It stays a subcommittee. It doesn't exclude anybody. The meetings are all open meetings. Everyone's welcome to come, and although there will not be an invitation to speak if you're a member of this committee, you will have all the opportunity to speak at those. You just wouldn't be able to vote. However, there's really no real votes taken that are binding. It's a quick working committee so that we can get information to them speedily and bring back to this body for any vote. And that brings up the next thing. So the subcommittee has negotiated a contract with HMFH. The dollar amount is $1.8 million for schematic design, feasibility study through schematic design. That was negotiated based upon other projects that they had done in our budget. And I'd be looking for, I'd entertain a motion to enter, and the rest of the contract is HMFH. That doesn't get changed. The only thing that's really negotiable is the price. So with that, I would be entertaining a motion to enter a contract with HMFH in the amount of $1.8 million. Mitra City, motion. Second.
Well, it's seconding.
Joe made the motion and Mitch seconded. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And that is unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you guys
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
And just on the same subcommittee thing, I will manage the schedule as best I can. I think everyone received placeholders for the first and third Wednesdays, 6 o'clock here. I'm going to ask Melissa to send invitations for every subcommittee meeting, which is likely to be 7 o'clock in the morning here. Again, everyone's welcome. And we'll proceed down that. And it will likely be the opposite week, so that, you know, I'm of the belief we can't lean on them if they're waiting for information from us. So I'm committed to they're never going to wait for information from us. And that's going to create a vicious cycle.
We're committed to the opposite. So we're committed to the opposite then.
Right.
We're gonna
It's going
push
to
you
create, the dynamic is awesome, because we will be getting them, and the people on that subcommittee are from every level of government in this town. If they can't get an answer, nobody can. Okay. Any other discussion on that? Then we have an owner's project manager, James Reefstone.
Thank you, guys.
Hold that.
I think a lot of this is going to be, I'll quickly flip through. To the point, well, fill the air, about the meetings, certainly for the school building committee meetings, you know, we put them on your calendar just to fill the spot. If we don't have a need to meet, we won't do it. There'll be many, and, you know, HMFH back me up, and it's Suresh. You know, many months will be just once a month, but whenever particularly when we need decisions made, or when we're issuing the PDP or the PSR, we'll need 2 meetings in a month just to make decisions made so that we can then meet deadlines and whatnot. And the same is for this subcommittee as well. We're not going to meet if there's nothing to meet about. So. Yeah, budget review. We touched on it. This is hard to read, so bear with me. Just the TV screen. It hasn't changed, and I didn't want to, you know, count my chickens before they hatched, right? But we have a $2.5 million budget that we submitted to the MSBA. The OPM was 400 of that, so now we're down to 2.1. We want about $100,000 set aside for a geothermal test well. We want to get that done before schematic design is submitted, so that we have a really dialed in HVAC plan that we're getting the MSBA to agree to. You know, HVAC plan and cost. You do it afterwards, you know, you're just throwing a dart. And so we're going to do that. And these wells go down like 500 feet or so. And so that's why they cost so much. They're, our HVAC system costs a lot too for this size of a building. I'll typically, we were wanting to bring the CM on board sooner than later. They need to be paid something. And so we would like to hold $150,000 in the budget for them, for their time. Again, if you imagine, we should have them for at least a year, just to get you, and it's a full team. And they'll be providing input and also cost estimating, but also input from the contractor standpoint, from a builder standpoint, to aid in our design of the building. And so, and that kind of brought us down to, and I'd like to have like 50,000 just for an incidentals, contingency, whatever, if we have to do any selective demolition. That brings us down to a 1.8 for the architect. So that nicely fit, made negotiations.
Even though they wanted more, we were
Yes.
limited.
That was known, but they agreed to this number, and it works in our budget, and it works for our management of our project to get us through the schematic design phase. And so that is how we arrived at our budget today. Next steps, they hit on it a little bit, and we've already had a meeting before this contract was agreed upon. Thank you very much. At 1 o'clock today with Josh, with Craig. Was there anyone else?
Mike.
And Mike, the ed planner today. So the next steps on the project are to go through these visioning sessions, and I think you guys may do some existing conditions, passes and whatnot, but, so we're getting that ball rolling. And Craig and Josh are figuring out now, they've been charged with figuring out who needs to be at these visioning sessions, who do they want. It should and can be a mix of the community. So students are welcome, parents are welcome, in addition to, teachers and admin, things like that. So I just put this in here just for education, and it was part of your committee packet, so you can read that offline. And that was it. Keep it short. Any questions for me or for my presentation?
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the school committee update.
The school committee updates.
The only update that I will mention is that HMFH has been invited to be introduced to the school committee meeting tomorrow evening, and everyone here is welcome. Any old business? Any new business? Motion to adjourn. Mike Walsh, second by Chris Wilson. All those in favor? We are adjourned.